Let's bring in CTV News political commentator Scott Reid. Scott, let's talk about those trade discussions as we come up to this Friday deadline. Mark Carney and his team are becoming very tight-lipped about the specifics of this deal. Where do you see it with just 2 days from now until this apparent deadline?
Well, it's difficult to be optimistic insofar as if optimism means we're hoping for a deal, it really does seem as though Donald Trump is basically saying to partners like Canada, other jurisdictions, we're not negotiating, we're just telling you what we will accept. And if you don't accept it, then we will inflict further economic harm upon you. And so that's not much of a basis for a win-win bilateral deal. We'll see. Maybe a rabbit will be yanked out of a hat. But the way that the president was boasting today on air about how duties are going to be pouring in, and you look at his deals where he has a 15, 18, 19% across the board tariff, it really does look as though his genuine objective at this point is to try to create a stream of revenues that go into the United States Treasury.
As Trump has said many times, he expects to use tariffs as a revenue generator. And we've heard from the Prime Minister several weeks ago, I believe now, where he kind of laid the groundwork to say, if you look at all the other trade deals, Canada is unlikely to have a deal without tariffs. And we also heard U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, really say that as well. Does it seem inevitable at this point that Canadians will be faced with some sort of tariffs in this deal?
Hard to imagine otherwise, but there's a huge set of question marks that surround that. We are not the EU. We have a free trade agreement with the United States, CUSMA, Canada-U.S., Mexico. We have free trade. Many of our sectors and industries are exempt from tariffs of any sort. And so the question is, if he's going to say, well, I must have a sticker price of 15% tariffs across the board, does he mean on all those industries that are non-CUSMA compliant? If so, maybe that's something we can work with. If not, and if he intends to apply those to also services and products that are covered by our free trade agreement, well, then that's obviously something we can't. It would be better for the government to say, well, then you would have to impose that on us. We could never possibly agree to that. And then you risk saying no to Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump hears no, he flies into a rage. And does that mean he might inflict further tariffs on us?
Scott, you and I have chatted many times about, trying to read the tea leaves about where the state of negotiations are at the moment. And now we're the week where this trade deadline deal should be reached. I guess the big question is, how prepared do we feel the government is if a deal is not reached?
Probably quite prepared, far more prepared than they've let us know, because they don't want to predict failure. But now we are creeping up to that deadline. And so a couple of questions. One, is it possible to not get a deal and not be punished? So I think that's one thing the Prime Minister is probably talking to his cabinet about. And what I mean by that specifically is, can we agree to push the deadline down the road if there's not a basis for a deal? Can we do it without prejudice? Can we do it without angering Trump and without incurring a series of tariffs? Secondly, if that's not possible, then what are the alternatives? What else must we do as a country? What must we do in terms of investments? Think about relaxed EI rules. Think about income support for industries and for workers in those areas that will be particularly hard hit. Is that what Cabinet is discussing today? In effect, Plan B. What if tariffs do come into effect on August 1st? And how are we going to help those who will be particularly hurt?
CTV News political commentator Scott Reid, thanks so much for this.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Have a great day.
You as well.